Sayın Büyükelçi Johannes Wimmer, Sayın Başkan Ali Guney ve Sayın Başkan Erdogan, Sayın Genel Sekreter Hasani Alchin, değerli konuklar, hoş geldiniz. Sehr geehrter Herr Botschafter, sehr geehrter Herr Präsident Ali Eren, sehr geehrter Herr Präsident Ali Guney, sehr geehrter Herr Generalsekretär, liebe Gäste, liebe Sprecher, herzlich willkommen. With this, I would like to turn to English. We've decided to keep today's day simple and in English. So, my name is Georg Karabaczek. I'm the Austrian Trade Commissioner here in Istanbul, and it's a big, big pleasure to welcome you. Foremost, the Austrian Ambassador Johannes Wimmer, President Ali Guney, from the member of the board of Turk Exim Bank, and Mr. Eren, President of the Turkish Contractors Association. Thank you, and welcome also to the Secretary General, Mr. Hasani Alchin. They are our main partners, and I would like to thank you even here for this very good cooperation, putting together this event with us, which I hope will be fruitful for all of our companies, for the Austrian and Turkish companies. Now, before starting, I would just like to mention that this webinar, this seminar will also be a webinar, so we are recording it, and so you can watch it afterwards if you want to. But of course, the main part will be in the afternoon, the B2B meetings. They will not be recorded, so you have to be here physically, and I must say, this is what we really missed for the last 1.5 years. We had a webinar on the financing possibilities with Exim Bank and Control Bank. It was very interesting, it was very good, but we really missed to have a tea together, to talk together and to mingle. And this is what we want to do today. Because after the presentations, we would like to invite you for a lunch outside. And then we have the B2Bs in the other room. And in the evening, I hope you will also be able to join our reception. So mingling is the new word which we would like to use today. I think this is the main points I wanted to make. And with this, I would now like to invite the Austrian Ambassador, Dr. Johannes Wimmer, to make his opening remarks.
Dear President Guney, dear President Erwin, Secretary General, dear Trade Commissioner Georg Karabaczek, and also the participants here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to see such a strong and big gathering. I just remember it was in March when we met on Zoom, discussing the matter we will discuss today here. And I'm really happy and delighted to be here with you today and to see some of you whom I met before online in person. This is a very good moment. It's also the first time we have a meeting in presence organized by our trade delegation here, and a very good team of the delegation since the pandemic had started. So this is a special day, and I'm honored and happy to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, the economic relations between Turkey and Austria are very good and remain stable even in the difficult times of the pandemic. Among Austria's important trading partners, Turkey was the only one with an increase in exports by 9% in 2020. This is a remarkable result. And in the first 6 months of 2021, we have seen another increase. Exports grew by 1/3. At the same time, Turkish exports to Austria have increased by 1/4. So I'm confident that we might see a record trade turnover in goods and services of over 4 billion euro this year. This remarkable result shows that we're on the right path. So I believe that it's time to further develop the cooperation between Turkish and Austrian companies in third markets. We have already seen some good examples of joint projects, like, for example, First Alpine Railway Systems and Yapi Merkezi in Africa, to mention only one. I'm convinced that the agreement between our two export credit agencies, OEKB and Turk Exim Bank, which we introduced to you already in the beginning of the year, as I mentioned, provides new opportunities, makes these projects more attractive for all sides. As we know, the financing facilities are nearly always crucial to win a project. With the experience of Turkish contractors and Austrian suppliers, I trust that we can be successful even on difficult markets and against strong competition. I wish you all a very interesting panel, good discussions, and above all, successful business-to-business meetings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for these kind words, Mr. Ambassador. And now I would like to invite Mr. Ali Guney, President, Member of the Board and General Manager of Turk Exim Bank, to address us.
Ambassador Wimmer, our colleagues joining us from Control Bank, Turkish Contractors Association, Austrian and Turkish business communities, I am very pleased to address you on this very important event. Turkey and Austria are two allies that have robust economic relations, and I still believe that there is still great potential for further develop economic and commercial relations. As official export credit agencies of both countries, Turkish Exim Bank and Control Bank play an important role, not only supporting their country's export, but also in strengthening bilateral trade relations. As you may recall, a reinsurance agreement has been signed between Turk Exim Bank and Control Bank early this year, showing this strong intention for collaboration between the two institutions. With this agreement, we aim to establish a risk-sharing mechanism to enhance Turkish and Austrian companies' ability to jointly undertake new business in the third markets. We hope this agreement will enable us to join forces in a region that are both mutual interests to both institutions. I am sure that Mr. Erwin will also mention Turkish companies' capabilities, but I would like to underline that we have well-established companies, Turkish companies operating both domestically and in foreign markets, taking advantage of Turkish geographical location and their familiarities with the neighboring countries' economic environment. I am confident that by combining their competitive edges with their Austrian counterparts, they will increase their presence around the world, which will eventually generate more export, both from Austria and Turkey. This event offers a great opportunity in respect of rising awareness regarding the agreement in financing facilities of both export credit agencies. I hope the B2B meeting in the afternoon will be fruitful and lived in live partnership and business. Leaving the floor to the next speakers, I would like to thank ADVANTAGE Austria for organizing this event, especially Mr. Karabaczek. I sincerely believe that this event will pave the way for transactions and transaction to be financed by both institutions in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for these kind words and the introduction by Mr. President Ali Guney. And now I would like to invite President Erdogan, President of the Turkish Contractors Association, please.
Your Excellency, Mr. Ambassador Wimmer, General Manager of the Turkish Exim Bank, Mr. Guney, Trade Commissioner, Mr. Karabaczek, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Turkish Contractors Association and myself, I am very pleased to join previous speakers in welcoming you all to Turkey and to our joint meeting on financing and cooperation opportunities for Austrian and Turkish construction companies in third markets. I am also pleased to have this meeting in person, Mr. Karabaczek, instead of an online webinar after a long period of time. Thank you. Today, we have representatives from the Exim Banks and well-motivated, dedicated group of businessmen from the two countries with us. They will discuss various forms of cooperation in the third country markets. As many of you would recall, we have, as Mr. Ambassador also mentioned, we have jointly organized a webinar on 19 March of this year with the same objective. That was an important and initial step for bringing the Turkish and Austrian construction companies, as well as the export credit agencies of both countries together under the difficult conditions of unfortunate pandemic. Today, we are taking an additional step towards solidifying the mutual interest in increasing the level of existing cooperation. Having said that, I should kindly remind you of the fact that our companies already have successful experiences of cooperation in the field of construction in our country and in third country markets such as Georgia, United Arab Emirates, and Poland already. As the President of the Turkish Contractors Association, I see a great potential for enhancing cooperation between our companies. It goes without saying that, as the umbrella organizations, it is our duty to open windows of opportunities for our companies and bring them together. Dear participants, now, excusing me, I will give some brief information on the international activities of the Turkish construction companies. As most of you know, construction services in international markets is one of the major fields of activity that Turkey is highly competitive and have a worldwide reputation for the last 50 years. I am very thankful to Mr. President of the Exim Bank mentioning it. As of today, Turkish contractors have undertaken roughly around 11,000 projects in 129 countries with a total business volume of $440 billion. The members of our association maintain their activities not only in the field of construction, but also the manufacturing of building materials to energy, tourism, health, and transport sectors by direct investments. In recent years, Turkish contractors also gained significant experience in public-private partnership, PPP projects. This experience definitely provides a competitive edge to our member companies in their activities. We are happily ready to share with you our experience and energy in entering the new markets. The increases in the pace of vaccination and consequently easing of restrictions in the countries will assist us resuming our activities in various parts of the world soon. The recent reports signal the need for superstructure and infrastructure projects in many countries, especially in Africa. We are very active, as you know, in the CIS region, Middle East, and Africa. We can join our forces and penetrate third country markets. The Turkish contractors may lead in Africa, whereas the Austrian companies may lend their support in Europe. Recently, we have been approached many countries. Bangladesh, Indonesia, Philippines, Sri Lanka are inviting the Turkish contractor companies to bid their large-scale projects. We are ready to work on these options together. The Turkish Exim Bank management is also in close contact with our sector. They are already engaged with their Austrian counterpart for expanding the pie for our companies. I hope Turkish and Austrian companies utilize all these instruments and alternatives to get a bigger share from the projects in the world market in the coming period. Dear participants, at this point, I importantly want to ask attention of our Austrian friends. In previous decade, as you know, we have finalized a lot of dams and hydroelectric power projects together in our country with our Austrian partners. Some have been finalized, some are under construction, and some are continuing. Verbund Plan, ATVANTAGE, ANDRITZ, Alchin had been our partners in many BOT projects in our country. Now, as our partners, these companies, are very familiar with our DSI, General Directorate of the Water Resources, nowadays we have been asked by our Minister of the Agriculture and the General Directorate of the DSI to try to organize financing solutions and technical solutions for the huge amount of the agriculture projects, irrigation and civil waters. The amount of these projects waiting goes up to around 50 billion US dollars. The Ministry and the General Directorate asked us to create interest of international market and the financing solutions to this waiting huge project. So why not, as we have done in the energy and the hydro projects, to try to study on this subject together with our partners, in our existing partners from Austria. We are open as the TCA to meet and to discuss the details and create solutions and to go and start up for such projects. Ladies and gentlemen, today's meeting provides us the necessary infrastructure exchanger views and assess all the possibilities. To that end, I thank everybody once again for this timely event and wish our companies fruitful the afternoon B2B meetings. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not only kind words, but also homework for us. And we will surely look into it. Some of the Austrian companies are present today. So thank you for this encouragement. Now we come to our second part, which is the core questions, how to finance such projects. New financing options for projects on third markets with examples of joint Austrian-Turkish cooperations. We will start with two introductory presentations. The first one will be by the Österreichische Kontrollbank. Mr. Erwin Machad, Senior Director and Client Advisory Export Services, has been in this sector already for 25 years, but he has a technical background and has also worked for private sector. So I think he knows both sides very well. And without further ado, dear Erwin Machad, please.
Good morning, everybody. Excellency, the presidents, companies, co-panelists, and of course, Trade Commissioner, thank you for organizing with your team this event here lively at Conrad. I'd like to start with a small introduction of what OEKB is and does. Mainly, I would show you the nice structure of OEKB, which is a nice building in the center of Vienna. We are quite old already. We were founded in 1946. And you would be surprised, as an Austrian export credit agency who does a lot of state projects, is in the sense a commercially bank-owned institution. So it was mentioned PPP, something like private-public partnership. We are something like that because we are commercial, bank-owned, and work for the state. We have roughly 500 co-workers at OEKB. I don't want to go too far into what OEKB does besides what we discussed today. Roughly speaking, we are active in capital market services, energy market services, active in tourism financing, development financing, and this is the point today, we are the official Austrian export credit agency. There, we insure projects worldwide for Austrian exporters and Austrian investors. So just to give one figure, roughly 30 billion of outstanding commitments with OEKB. Secondly, and this is a very important issue today, we do in this area financing for such transactions. Not only insure them, but also provide cheap, reasonable funds for such transactions. How is this possible? We use the credit rating of the Republic of Austria to get a hold of these funds by issuing international bonds and provide those monies via commercial banks to the projects of the Austrian companies. There, the total outstanding is in the range of 23 billion. We do all this for the sake of the Austrian national interest and for current account efficiency of the Austrian economy. Where are we active in? What are the areas? You can see mainly it's Asia, South and Eastern Europe, but also quite a chunk is also in Africa. Sector-wise, not sector-wise, it's country by country. You see that Turkey is number 5 in outstanding commitments of OEKB. You still see that Russia is a tremendously high number 1, with China second to it. But you can also see that there are some other countries, let's say, for example, Ghana, Mexico, where there might be an opportunity and even more for our cooperation. And that's why we are here today. We want to bring together Austrian companies with Turkish companies and at the same time have solutions available. You mentioned create solutions. I hope we can create solutions together. Sector-wise, you see there's a huge chunk of our commitment is in metal industry, energy. You mentioned energy here in Turkey was very important in the past, still is important. Medical technology, but also machinery, pulp and paper. Traffic might be quite important for us together. Maybe also urban infrastructure and environment. What can be the core of our cooperation? Where can we, together with our colleagues from Turk Exim, provide solutions for you in your working together in international projects? We try to find a very simple structure and go to the structure where we can work together. Oh no, this doesn't work, sorry. The idea is to have this huge expertise of EPC contractors here in Turkish to be combined with the technology and supplies from Austria. So the idea is to have Turkish construction companies doing businesses abroad together with Austrian sub-suppliers. This is the core of the structure, and to do this in different countries, some flags of Africa are mentioned here. What do we do together with Exim Bank of Turkey? We would provide for the banks financing those projects the insurance, so make them sure that they receive the money back for these projects. First thing. Secondly, to provide also financing for these transactions. The cooperation between OEKB and Exim Bank was mentioned before, and it might be coincidence, but this agreement was signed on the 12th of January. Now you know this is my birthday, so I guess there should be some special move to that project. And since in January, those are the Capricorns. My wife would say they are stubborn, but I would say I'm very will strong. And so we will do something there. We will succeed to bring this cooperation forward. We have also the international banks with us on the panel here today. We need the banks to arrange the financing, to do the financing, to do the contractual work, and to structure those deals together with us and Exim Bank. And we will have some need, of course, of local banks in the target countries. It's a simplified structure. There are many others we could add there. International financial institutions, for example, we could also add there. But in principle, we would stick to that structure to support our projects, our common projects, Turkish and Austrian projects. What are the advantages of those? I mentioned it before. We want to make use of the huge experience of the EPC contractors here in Turkey in international challenging markets. It's usually not Germany or, I don't know, very easygoing markets. I came across firstly with Turkish companies somewhere in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, maybe in North Africa and so on. So challenging markets and experience there is something Turkish companies will bring into this cooperation, I think. I guess that some of the technology from Austrian suppliers will also be very helpful for such cooperation. So we expect that many of the Austrian suppliers will bring in their technology in such projects. I mentioned the reasonable financing behind this structure. Reasonable financing because Austria can receive monies from the capital markets on reasonable rates because of the good rating, and we would bring in this financing in such structure. There will be risk sharing, of course. Those are not that easy markets. It's always good to have partners in complicated, challenging markets where we can share the risk between Turk Exim, OEKB, maybe even others. And what is important, we are there for long-term financing. So 10 years is very common in this ECA-covered transactions. For example, for transportation, we can even go up to 14 years. For renewable energy, like hydropower plants, up to 18 years. And what we could also bring in is know-how in the multi-sourcing cooperation with additional export credit agency. There might be projects that are as large as not to be covered by two ECAs only. So maybe we bring in Germany, whomever. Where can we be active in this field? It's the world map from the OEKB perspective. Where is cover possible? Where is it possible with some limitations, and where we can't really support projects? So green light for all the countries where it's very open conditions. Yellow, where there might be some restrictions, and the red ones, you see they are rather limited. where we can't really support projects. Just to give a first view, where is it possible to do something in our cooperation? You can find it easily on our web pages. Okay. And finally, what we do here today, and we will continue to do this in the future, is what we call matchmaking, to bring together the right companies from Turkey with the right companies from Austria, together with financing institutions like we have them here, to find a feasible structure for all three of them, plus the export credit agency, to find solutions for countries where it's possible to do something and to fix that cooperation. We'll start that today with a very general matchmaking, if I may say so, but we have experience for specific projects where we do matchmaking for that specific project with the specific companies to be involved in there. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to have a nice discussion afterwards with my colleagues, with you and my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Erwin Machad, for this overview from the Austrian side. But now, how does it work on the Turkish side, on the Turkish Exim Bank side? And with this, I would like to invite Mrs. Zehra Türköz-Sayar, who is the head of the Department for International Loans and Relations, to explain how Turk Exim Bank works and how they can work together. And afterwards, we go to the panel discussion. So, Zehra, please.
Ambassador Wimmer, distinguished guests, our colleagues, I would like to also welcome you to this important event. I am especially pleased after having the first meeting online to be able to address you in person instead of through a screen of my computer at work. I would like to thank my colleague Erwin Machad for the insightful presentation. I would like to build on his presentation. Even though Control Bank and Turk Exim Bank have different products and function differently, we both have the same mission of encouraging exports, financing exports from our countries. With this background, I would like to give some general information about Turk Exim Bank. Turk Exim Bank was established in 1987 after Turkey adopted an export growth-led strategy, and we are wholly owned, 100% owned by Turkish Treasury, but we do report to Ministry of Trade. We are the official export credit agency of Turkey. And since the inception of the bank, we provide both insurance, guarantee and direct loans under the same roof, meaning we are a one-stop shop agency. If we look at the products we offer, we basically have 4 core products. The first one being export working capital loans and export-oriented investment loans. We also support foreign currency earning activities of our Turkish companies. Under this line of support, our main obligors are the Turkish firms. We also provide insurance, where we provide cover and protect our companies against commercial and political losses. Another important product we offer is a buyer's credit, which basically aims to meet the financing needs of Turkish foreign buyers and project owners, financing needs when they procure goods and services from Turkey. We also have support to protect our companies against exchange rate risk during their operations through derivative products. If you look at the if you look at the figures, you see they have been increasing steadily over the years. As of the end of 2020, our total support reached approximately $46 billion, and nearly 28.5 is through the credits. The remaining 17 is from the insurance activities. Our year-end target for 2021 is $51 billion. And if you look at the composition, we hope to reach $21 billion in insurance and 30 billion in loans. While we provide support, we adhere to international rules and regulations, mainly the OECD arrangement, which we abide when we determine the terms and conditions, financial terms and conditions of the loans. And the other one is for the good governance. We obey by the international, we obey by the recommendations of the OECD for issues such as debt sustainability, environmental and social due diligence, as well as anti-bribery. Since Turkey is a member of the WTO, we also adhere to agreements on subsidies and countervailing measures when providing official support, official export credit. We are also a member of the Bern Union, which is a union of Exim banks and private credit insurers. And when extending support, we also follow the guidelines. I think I have skipped now. One of the core products we offer is international loans, and the program was first put into effect in the late 1980s, and since the inception, total loan provided to projects undertaken by Turkish contractors has reached $3.5 billion. And you can see the composition. The first, when the program was first put into operation, our market was the newly established independent states in Central Asia. Then later on, we have financed several projects in sub-Saharan Africa. All these figures were done through the direct lending. However, we like to grow in insurance side as well. Therefore, the reinsurance agreement we have signed with Control Bank has a special importance. As Turkish government adopted an African initiative in the early 2000s, the trade between Turkey and the continent, as well as the operations of Turkish companies, grew in the continent. We have financed approximately 1.3 billion worth of projects in sub-Saharan Africa. We have projects in the pipeline, and we like to, as much the conditions allow, like to grow. Our first project was in 2005, started in Sudan for the construction of a bridge by a well-known Turkish company, and then grew in other markets such as Ghana, Cameroon, Senegal, Congo, and Djibouti. In some of the countries, Turk Exim Bank has the highest exposure among the OECD countries. These are some examples of the projects we have financed. As you can see, there are several infrastructures such as water project in Ghana, a railway project in Ethiopia. We have a stadium in Cameroon. These are just several examples you can see on the screen. Why do we give importance to the reinsurance agreements? Because in today's landscape, it is really not possible for any single company to undertake a work and completing itself. because the larger deal sizes and the sophisticated transactions make this impossible. And due to global value chains, procurement from a single country is also not possible. Therefore, joining forces with other companies is a must. Therefore, we as export credit agencies give importance to signing such agreements so that we are able to support our companies. What type of advantages it provides? First of all, I think this is a critical one. The borrower deals with only one ECA, meaning that all the loan agreements and the negotiations are realized. And behind the scenes, the second ECA provides its reinsurance. It simplifies the procedures because unlike parallel financing, where two institutions would independently extend the support, there is one set of documentation, one set of terms, which simplifies the transaction, reduces the cost as well. It is used as an effective tool to overcome the country limits or sector limits. Therefore, it is widely used among ECAs in today's world. At this point, the important thing for us will be to identify strengths of Turkish and Austrian companies, encourage them to form partnerships so that we have transactions to finance jointly with Control Bank. Like mentioned by the president of the Turkish Contractors Association, Mr. Erwin, Turkish companies are very reputable in a sense that they are able to perform and operate even the riskiest markets where most European or other part of the world, the companies from other parts of the world hesitate to go. So we think this is one of the most important strengths. They're able to complete important, strategic projects with high quality. If you look at Austrian advantages, like my colleague mentioned, the financial facilities and the good rating behind the control bank is critical. And also their experience in quality infrastructure design and high quality engineering. This is all about my presentation. I would like to thank Trade Commissioner Mr. Karabaczek for his organization and support and efforts shown. And if there are any questions, I will be happy to answer during the break or after the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Herr Türk for this explanation. Now we have the puzzle nearly together. And now we come to our panel. So if I may ask the panelists to join us here. We will have a few questions, and of course, we will then open the floor to your questions also. And please, of course, you will also receive the presentation. So we have a recording and you will receive all the presentations afterwards by email. So don't worry about this. I would like to switch over to the other place now. So, first of all, let me introduce the two panelists which have joined us also. Mrs. Silvia Sedlacek has more than 20 years experience also in this business from the German KfW IPEX Bank. She is specialized also on mobility and transport, where she's the director. And she will talk about what KfW brings into this possibility of financing. And the second panelist who have joined us now is Mr. Michael Tanschitz, who is working with RBI for not such a long time, because before that he was my colleague based in China. and the bank was, I think, had a nice offer for you, so he switched to the private industry. So he's also now covering export and investment finance, and is senior associate with the Raiffeisen Bank International. So now you will have the ECAs and the private side, the banks. And I would like to start with a question, which is, we've heard a lot of things here, and there are so many infrastructure projects out there we're all interested in worldwide, everywhere. Which markets and sectors do you focus on? And what are your roles specifically so that such a big project can come to a successful closing? Who would like to start with this? OEKB or Exim Bank?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, we know the infrastructure investments around the globe is high, and the financing needed. There's also a financing gap for meeting this infrastructure investments. With the agreement we have signed with Control Bank, we do not target a specific region or geography. But we know that the infrastructure gap, both in terms of investments and financing gap, is high, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. We know that the figure of gap is oftenly expressed around 70 to 100 billion dollars. I think this is the gap that will reach by 2025, according to the African Development Bank's figure. Therefore, I think one of the main market or the target for our cooperation might be sub-Saharan Africa, as long as, of course, you know, the limitations on Control Bank's countries of operations allow, because each transaction will be evaluated by the policies of the institutions. But we see there will be a high demand in infrastructure projects in Africa. We also know that the Turkish companies are active, so they have already completed many strategic infrastructure projects in Africa. Therefore, we believe it might be one region. Others, of course, maybe the traditional markets of our companies, such as Central Asia, Middle East, and North Africa, would follow. What type of role the ECAs will follow? Will perform the risk perceptions, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, are still high. And we also know that nearly 40 to 45% of the obligors in sub-Saharan Africa are still public. And these are the figures we have recently got from the Bern Union meeting. So what we see is the sovereign buyers, obligors are still critical. Therefore, the political risks in the transactions are high. So ECAs will be playing a critical role in mitigating the risks. And when the private sector hesitates to go to a single market, the insurance and guarantees of the ECAs offered will be important. It will also be important in mobilizing the private funds available. I think this is the summary.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, it works. For bringing in this map once again. Of course, we will focus on transactions wherever Turkish and Austrian companies intend to go to together. Usually, we do not define markets in advance, and I can tell you that in the past, when I was asked 5 to 7 years ago, could you consider to do a rail project in Ethiopia? In the first moment, I thought, oh, this is really a challenge. This will be really hard. And finally, you saw pictures today of that project that happened together with an Turkish EPC contractor and Austrian sub-suppliers. So I don't want to stop people from going to different markets, but I would keep in the view where is financing and cover reasonable, and this is shown somehow on that map. Regarding importance of project, if we talk about large size infrastructure projects, be it renewable energy, be it rail, whatever, most likely in this area, we will still stick to something like state guarantee or Ministry of Finance guarantee in that case. So although OEKB itself is a PPP, frankly speaking, I do not trust too much in PPPs in very challenging regions. Maybe this is something I wanted to add. We have good experience with government risk in these countries, rather low experience with BOTs, PPP, and so on.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Georg, for the question. I think you ask about what role can we as a bank play in such a big infrastructure projects. I mean, we as a bank, as a private sector bank, we see ourselves as enablers. We want to enable projects by providing the right financing and therefore making them possible. Now, this is, in this case, possible because of the close cooperation between banks and export credit agencies. We heard a lot about the possibilities and capabilities ECAs have. They provide cover for risks, and therefore it makes, therefore they make transactions for us commercial banks more bankable. And what we see in the market is there's, of course, for big EPC contracts, ECA structures within
projects. So what is bankable? So first of all, when we have been introduced the project, I'm looking exactly on this map, because a project in emerging markets and in sub-Saharan Africa is bankable when we have a good financing in place, long tenors, and this will only be possible with the support of an export credit agency like OEKB. So for instance, you see the map and you can see the red countries are a no-go, so we would not touch it, not bankable. In the next step, we would look to the sector, and my colleagues have already mentioned we are open for, almost sectors. We have some no-go sectors like military, tobacco, nuclear. In view of the climate change programs all the government has, we would not finance a coal-fired project. So these are the no-goes in sectors. But for all the sectors, we banks are open to look into it. So then in the third step, we banks look, okay, what kind of structure do you want to implement? So we are having an infrastructure, mainly we have the EPC, we have the EPCF, and we find the PPP. And Mr. Machad has already mentioned, and I fully agree with him, we have been and we are very often introduced or requested for PPP projects in Africa. So this is a bit, this is a new development. However, what I can confirm what Mr. Machad was mentioned. So there are a few projects that would qualify for PPP. For instance, Kenya has a very good developed PPP law, bridges, roads, etc. would qualify. However, there are many other countries in this continent, they heard about PPP, and when I talk to them, why do you want to implement a PPP? Oh, it works in Europe, it should work here as well. Yeah, so, and this is not the right way to structure projects. So what we see and what we support as banks in Sub-Saharan Africa, but also in Asia, this is the EPC and is the EPCF structure. However, we would never say no on a PPP project.
Thank you very much. So I see this map is very important. Now, if I'm a company, we've seen lots of sketches and you've told us a lot how it could work. But if I'm a company and I say I have a project, so what exactly do I have to do? Just tell us basic. Which step do I have to take? Do I go to OEKB or do I go to whom do I go? How do I get my money? Could you explain these basics for us, please? We have to start with Raiffeisen.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I think there was one buzzword, an important word, which is key really, and that is matchmaking, I believe. So all of us are in the business of matchmaking, some sort of, right? The project owner wants to execute its project. They have to find the right EPC contractor. So the general contractor then comes into the picture, and they want to provide, of course, the best outcome, the best execution of the project. So they need to find the right suppliers. And to make this whole project possible, of course, we need the right financing here. And today, I think, and against the backdrop of the reinsurance agreement between OEKB and Turk Exim, we have the possibility to bring really attractive financing into this whole picture. So through basically involving Austrian suppliers in the project of Turkish general contractors, we have the possibility to bring OEKB cover into the picture and therefore also bring attractive financing from an international bank, for instance, RBI. So if you ask me, what does the company have to do? What has the contractor to do? I think the answer is relatively easy. It is to involve the banks as early as possible, because the earlier we as a bank know where a project takes place, who the customer will be, who the importer and the borrower will be, and also who the supplier will be, the easier it is for us to early on structure an attractive financing solution. It is easier for us then to approach the right ECA, in this case, for instance, OEKB and Turk Exim Bank, and then for us to offer a financing solution. The later this happens, of course, the more challenging it is, because then there might already be an EPC contract in place, which might not be bankable, for instance, and then it is very difficult to restructure these contracts in order to make them bankable. So I think the key message is to involve us banks early on, and then we take care of the matchmaking, of bringing suppliers and financing into the picture.
Mrs. Sedlacek?
Yeah, I fully agree with you. And in order to continue is, so a project is a project when the funding or the financing is secured. So in particular in this sector, in the infrastructure sector. So we are talking, or we are not talking about 2 billion, 5 billion. We are many times talking about billions. So, and no government in these emerging markets has this money cash somewhere, put it on the table and say, do the project. So they always need a good financing. And again, a good financing is in place when the pricing of the financing is really attractive and is really down. And this can only be done with the support of an ECA. So that means, and I fully agree what you were saying, come to the banks and to the ECA, to OEKB as soon as possible. So don't structure your EPC or your EPCF in an own way and put it then on the table to the banks. And when I see, okay, it's nice, you source from the Fiji Islands, which is cheap and so on. And I say, look, this is not eligible for ECA financing. So projects like this, EPC, EPCF and PPP projects in these challenging markets should always structured together with the bank. So the bank can advise you, the ECA can advise you, the ECAs and the banks closely work together so that at the end of the day, when you are requested under a tender to put an EPCF structure on the table, you can be sure when you get the contract and when you have worked with the bank in an early stage, this will be a bankable project. This is my advice.
Thank you. So if I understand correctly, we're talking about this OEKB Exim Bank agreement. This is very important, but it stays in the background. You should know that it exists, but the company with the project should come to you or to their house bank, to their bank first. And then in the background, this agreement becomes active. Did I understand correctly?
I think the understanding is correct. I can confirm that getting in touch with the bank early is the right way to get things done there. We simplified the structure very much in here. So if you add another country where suppliers come from, if you add other institutions to be involved in the structure, it gets more and more complicated. And I would not say only the bank knows, but I think they know it quite well, how such structure can really be done and really done in a way that it finally materializes in a project. And Georg Karabaczek, thank you. It's correct that our cooperation between Zecha and myself, or our institutions, of course, is somewhere in the rear. You will not really recognize or should not recognize that we have to discuss also these structure. But in a way, you should talk to one of us, and the one of us will define how we build the structure together with the commercial banks.
Yeah, of course, I also echoed the early importance of early involvement of both banks and ECAs. But prior to that, what we also witnessed is when both agencies come together and sign these reinsurance framework agreements, it lays the foundation for cooperation and encourages our firms to join forces, because when they know such an agreement already exists, they can determine their partners accordingly. They can also procure the goods and services, the strategies for procurement accordingly. So what we witness is when the Turkish companies approach to us, the often asked question is who do you have agreements with? So therefore, this framework agreements is something we value, and that's why we are trying to increase the number, and very pleased to have signed it with OEKB. We also believe in the value of these type of organization. After an agreement is in place, the second step is letting our business communities know that such an agreement is in force, signed and in force. It really, what we see is it really encourages the partnerships among the firms. They knowing that their agencies will be backing them on the deal, form partnerships accordingly. I just wanted to add this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, my third question and the last question before we open the floor: what kind of projects can be financed through the described ECA structures, and especially what aspects do you have to consider? Silvia Selacek mentioned a little bit, but what about these buzzwords of Paris Agreement, sustainability, CSR, human rights? Do they have any importance when I apply for a credit with you when we submit the project? Would you, from the bank side, start and?
Yeah, thank you. So I have already mentioned some aspects under the first question. So in order to continue, which aspects? So when we have introduced a project, of course, I look on the map and everything is fine. So then the next questions we ask and information we need is, okay, does the project make sense for the country? So it can happen that some of you has been asked by, I don't want to mention the country A, and in Africa, oh, we need a casino. So we want to build a casino. It's a huge project. It gives a lot of money. Then, of course, I asked Mr. Machad, would you cover casinos? I have my doubts. So this is only an example, yeah. So we look, what kind of project is it? Does it make sense for the country? So, and we would ask this question even more now, still in the pandemic, and we never know how the pandemic will develop, because in the infrastructure, a lot of projects that has made sense before the pandemic. So we critically ask, okay, would it be better, wouldn't it be better for the country to postpone these infrastructure projects until, I don't know, when the time is better? So this is the question we ask. Then we further look, are there any restrictions in place? So you might be aware that in the pandemic, the G20 countries and the World Bank has given some debt holidays for many countries in Africa and in Asia. So, however, this debt holiday has not been given for nothing. So, of course, the G20 countries and the World Bank and the public lenders, they say, look, we give you a debt holiday, but in the next, I don't know, 1 or 2 years, you are not allowed to enter into new commercial borrowing, or you have restrictions. So we ask, are there any restrictions in place? Have this project been discussed with the World Bank, with the IMF, etc.? Then the next point is the project in the budget of the country? And I have seen so many projects, and clients came to me and say, we want to do this project, and the government will issue a guarantee. Okay, are you sure? Yeah, they told me. Who told you? So I want to see it in writing. So when the government is prepared to issue a guarantee, there is no problem that the debt management unit of the Ministry of Finance issues a letter that gives us at the bank, and also you, yeah, the confirmation, yes, this is a project that has been approved in the budget. So when this is not the case, I would not touch it. So, a last point on my list is the procurement procedure. So how this project shall be awarded, if there an international tender, Is there a limited tender? Will there be a direct award? Are there any award under the so-called offre spontanée that is very common in the French-speaking countries? So this is also what we very, very carefully as banks looking. And what I can tell you is, I think you agree with me, that banks becoming more and more reluctant in financing direct awards. So that means when a contract is given without any competition, so we are becoming more and more hesitant. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, maybe a few points to add here. I think you raised some very important topics there. I think what we see, of course, in the market is that ECA financing has evolved strongly over the last years. And one of the reasons is, of course, the involvement of an ECA provides a lot of comfort factors, and especially in difficult times, for example, after the financial crisis, also now after COVID or during COVID, we see, of course, a comfort factor like an ECA cover makes projects just more bankable and easier to execute. And therefore, especially in large infrastructure projects, we see increasing number of ECA-backed facilities, and this is really becoming the standard in the market. Now, if we look what kind of projects can be financed, of course, we also need to look who is the borrower, right? So in very challenging markets, for instance, in Africa, we often have sovereign borrowers. But then in other markets, for example, in Central Eastern Europe, the borrower might also be a corporate, or it might be a project company, an SPV. And this is something where ECAs really have increased their capabilities over the last years to also do ECA-backed project finance, especially for green projects. Now, another topic that you briefly touched upon is the question of ESG friendliness. And this, of course, I would like to add is core for us at RBI. We see ourselves and we position ourselves as one of the leading banks when it comes to ESG financing. So everything which is green or social or related to good governance. We are the #2 green bond arranger in Central and Eastern Europe. And what I also would like to mention here, especially for this audience, we do not only look on the green of the ESG, so not only the E, but also on the S, the social. So we are very much involved when we are assessing transactions, whether there is a positive social component to such a transaction. And this is especially often the case in challenging markets where infrastructure projects are often social infrastructure because they increase connectivity, they make it easier for goods being traded, they make it easier for people to go to work, to get employment, or also, for example, in the healthcare sector where we have also been very active in the past. So I think these are two of the things that maybe to give you an answer to your question, two of the things that we, of course, look into is on the one hand, what is the ESG component of a transaction, and on the other hand, who is the borrower and where does the project take place? Thank you.
Yeah, in view of the ESG, some additional comments from my side. So when we finance infrastructure projects, so most of the infrastructure projects qualify as under category A or B as per the OECD common approaches, which means that we banks and also OEKB, we need the full package of the ENS procedure, starting with the environmental and social impact assessment. So, and this shouldn't be underestimated. So before OEKB, and Mr. Machad, correct me if I'm wrong, before you start really looking into a project, so you need at least the environmental and social impact assessment in order to have a rough idea what is the impact, what will be the impact of the project on ENS. Yeah. So, and you should not underestimate this, or you are familiar with this. This could take a year. So when you start working on the project before this first document is ready, a year, followed by the due diligence that can take another 6 months. So, and only when this is in place, the due diligence with the action plan and any other related documents, so then we can get your reliable support from the ECAs. Is my understanding correct?
Would you like to comment?
The understanding is correct. It sounds a little bit complicated. I have to say, of course, it sounds like, but this is the basis. If a project is not environmentally and socially safe or tested, we will not be able to support such project. Anyway, you have good partners in place here on the panel, and of course other banks too, who are able to define in advance what will be the right structure, what will be the right timing, which is very important, who will be the right partners to make things possible. And so I would rather sum it up with it's challenging. I understand Turkish companies are used to challenging markets, challenging projects. So we will succeed there, and would sum it up with our claim at OEKB, let's make it possible. And I think we will make it possible.
On our part, when the transaction comes to our agenda, I don't think this agreement, unlike we do not limit the geography, we also do not limit the sectors. But what we see is in line with the needs of the infrastructure investment, we will see a lot of demand from energy to transportation in terms of ports, our regional connectivity, railways and roads. As well as, you know, water, sanitation, and etc. When a transaction comes to our agenda, of course, there are several things we make sure are there. We, of course, check the availability of country limits. We also apply country limits, and the issues and challenges Sevilla mentioned are really important, whether the country is able to borrow on the terms they can borrow on the terms that the lenders are willing to extend, which is basically commercial. This is especially a challenging issue in today's environment in sub-Saharan Africa, as well as some Asian countries, low-income countries. They are not able to borrow on commercial terms. So therefore, these countries are, you know, eliminated from the start. We will also look at the structure. As Erwin said, you know, PPP deals are also a challenge for us. Under these markets, our experience have been limited to sovereign, and we'd like to, at least with the medium term, would need to continue under this as well. Because most of these countries, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, though they are willing to replicate successful examples in other parts of the world in terms of PPP, unfortunately they are lagging the regulatory institutional framework to go ahead with such project structure. Environmental and social assessment is, of course, also a key to our assessment. While we are supporting exports from country, we have to make sure that, you know, we are doing this in an environmentally and socially responsible way. So when a project comes to agenda, we also screen it, and if it's a category A project, we do need as well an environmental impact assessment report. So this is also a critical issue for Turk Exim as well. Thank you.
So thank you very much. With this, I would like to invite you to put your specific questions. Yes, please.
Hello, my name.
You have a microphone.
Oh, that makes it easier. Thank you very much. You leave the impression here that you are willing to finance, let's say, just and only governmental projects with a volume of 3 billion upwards and a preparation time of 3 years, or more. And this is not my impression or my experience with OEKB and also Exim Bank. So maybe you find some words that you see another market also that might be a smaller project market, but on the whole, maybe the main business that you're doing.
Thank you very much for that question. Frankly speaking, OEKB does not have any threshold for projects we support. So I can give you comfort that we start with something like agricultural equipment supplies to Ukraine for a value of 10,000 euros. This is the minimum I saw. Today we discuss different projects. So there is support from OEKB for the small and the large size projects. It's there, and most of our roughly 1,000 projects per year would be in the range between, well, let's say up to 1 million. This is the usual range, and you are right, there you don't talk about 3 years development and so on. What we discussed today is a, let's say, more sophisticated structure, and you won't see that structure for, let's say, a project of 10 million euros. This will be projects, be it in the railway sector, they go up to a few hundred millions very easily. And that's also why we have to cooperate there. We like to cooperate, but we also have to cooperate because we are not in, we can't support a project, 300, 500 million project in Ethiopia on our own. This is not possible. We have to share the risk there. So you are right, but we're doing all these other projects too. Today we talk about rather large size project. I hope this gives a good impression.
If I may add to that, of course you're right. I mean, not all the projects are $1 billion projects, right? And the structure we are discussing today, what we have seen earlier on the screen, is the classical buyer's credit, where we finance the importer or the customer of an exporter. And here we are one of the banks with one of the lowest thresholds actually for such a structure. So we start already with buyer's credits from 2 million euros onwards. So we have a special product for buyer's credits between 2 and 10 million euros. But obviously in big EPC contractor structures, this might not be enough. So we can also finance larger projects on our own as a bank would probably go somewhere up until roughly 100 million euros plus minus. And then if a project is larger, we would try to bring in other bank partners to form a club for such a financing. But you're completely right. The range is quite a wide one for buyer's credit financing. Thanks.
Any other question? Yes, please. If you could also say your name and company.
Other projects and not only the big ones. And of course, the main question behind is engineering from Austria, manufacturing in Turkey. Is there a possibility also to get a combined credit financing from Exim Bank and OEKB?
In principle, there is a possibility. It's a question of size. If you talk about small hydro projects, I don't know exactly what size you're talking about, but if it is somewhere in the range between 1 and 5 million, to say, if I may say so, usually the reinsurance is not considered. Reinsurance we usually use for rather large projects. And for the smaller projects, we try to find concepts to cover it on our own and do it alone and make it even more simple there. So it should be possible, specifically if you work together with own subsidiaries in Turkey, for example. Then it's specifically very rather easy to do these projects. My experience in hydropower or small hydropower projects is rather on the off-taker side. If it goes there into project finance structures, I don't have to tell you, it's getting complicated and not so easy to do. If it's a pure corporate risk transaction, it's usually rather simple to do.
It's important to underline that this reinsurance agreement is intended for the larger size transactions, because it will be difficult, as Erwin said, for one ECA to to shoulder the risk alone. So that is why we are cooperating in terms of sharing risks. Of course, as I mentioned in my presentation, a country limit may be full, and there may be a need to transfer that risk to another country, or a sector limit may be too high, so it is a good way of sharing risk. So it is basically for larger scale transactions, because we are able to do the others on our own to a great extent.
Does this answer your question? Thank you. I would like to mention that all the ladies and gentlemen here will be with us the whole day, so you can also have one-to-one discussions. There will be tables for the B2B meetings where you can also sit down and discuss your specific project. So I would like to thank the... Did I?
Good.
Sorry. Please.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Joseph Donald Veng from the company Linsinger. You talk about a project who are sometimes not in the budget from the government. And my experience is that in Africa, sometimes when you want to develop something and you discuss with companies, sometimes they don't know how they can do it. So sometimes you don't have this project in the budget just because they don't know how. They don't know how they can, what is possible, what is not possible. So if one of the criteria for the selection of your project is that, is this project in the budget for the government, I can tell you that I'm sure that 100% of the budget project will not be able. But what is really important as a company to be sure that, okay, I'm in contact with one company in Africa. I want to help this company to develop the infrastructure, for example, but this company don't know how, but I know how, but I'm not in Africa to make it able or to make it possible so that I can arrange a financing or something like that. But what is really important as an Austrian company, to make it possible so that at the end we could have a project, because that is really difficult in Africa. They don't have this kind of structure like here in Europe. It's why sometimes no things happen just because information is not there, structure is not there, and the technology is not there. So I want to develop something, but I don't know how. What am I supposed to do as an Austrian company?
Who would like to comment? Yeah.
I can start. Yeah. So I hope I have acoustically correctly understood your question because of the mask. So development of a project is always a teamwork. So you never developed a project like this alone. So so I'm in this Africa business for more than 20 years, and I have helped develop a lot of projects. And also, I can tell you now, also the African market has developed in terms of knowledge. 20 years ago, this was a completely different story. So you had to start really from the beginning. So, and this is also some of the duties of an advising bank, to bring people together, to bring people on one table. So the company in Africa, the representatives of the government, so Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Infrastructure, the Ministry of Finance, OEKB, a possible supplier, and this can be done in a different way. So in normal ways, people meet physically, yeah, and develop the project. Now it's a bit difficult, but I can tell you when this is a reasonable project which really is wanted by the government, and in infrastructure we're mostly talking about the public sector, yeah, not the private sector. So and when all the players, the ECA, the banks, the local players are convinced and prepared to do it, all the projects I was working on did happen. So it's a teamwork. So, and this is also a recommendation, and I'm not talking on the name of my bank. I represent here, or we represent the banks, also our friendly competitors. Talk to the right bank. Yeah, each bank has its niches. Yeah, so 20 years ago, a bank told you, I can do the world. This is not any longer the case. Each bank has strengths. Try to find your right partners. And again, a project is a project when the financing is in place. So this is very important.
Okay, I hope this answers your question. So I think these people can contact the bank and
I have one
develop
question.
the project. Sorry, please.
No problem. My name is Eric Peter, Machines Plans Austria. I miss a very important topic, affordable housing, affordable living. And I asked the Turkish side, Mrs. Sayar, are there experience abroad in this area? And what is the start point from the financing? And this is really my case. And I ask now because so many people and companies are here and they should hear this answer.
I know that our Turkish companies are very well known in housing projects, but if you ask whether Turk Exim has ever financed one, no. Because when we assess the project, one of the most important thing is the content, what is exported from Turkey. And of course, I am not saying we will not, but when we look at the project, the main determinant for us is what is the Turkish content, you know, what can be taken from Turkey. So in these projects, it is also the same in construction of roads, I think, is the local costs in a given countries are high, and exports from Turkey relatively low. But of course, we can support whatever is, you know, to a certain percentage, whatever is exported from Turkey. So we are not close, but maybe we may need other partners for the remaining financing package, because the Turkish content is limited.
I will also explain later on when I give my statement. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. With this, I would like to thank our panelists very much for enlightening us, for telling us how it can work. Okay, the very last one, because we're running a little late, please.
Hello, this is Duygu Çağman from KfW IPEX Turkey Representative Office. Actually, connecting with the previous question, are there any minimum requirement from the Austria to be in place for the financing to be secured under the contract, under the structure that you were discussing? Is there any minimum requirement for the Austrian content?
Asking in our structure if there's a minimum. I can only answer it in a way that it should be a reasonable content in there. It's a very good question, because if you talk about, for example, hydropower stations, and it's 90% Turkish content and maybe 10% Austrian content, it might already get a little bit challenging then. Still might be possible, but usually the range would be something like 20 to 30% from Austria, which makes it really reasonable. We would all think about lower contents, but it's less likely, if I may say so.
Maybe to add to that, I mean, from our experience with OEKB, I can really say that they want to make projects happen, right? They are not the ones who would then count, okay, there's 1% missing, so we cannot provide cover. But I think it's a flexible approach there, and as long as the project is good, they are trying to provide cover.
As I said, the panelists will be here for further questions. I don't want to cut it short, but we are running a little late. So thank you again very much. And we move on to the next point. Thank you very much for your contribution. With this, we are coming to our third part, which is now going about what about the Turkish construction industry? What does it look like? What's happening there? And for this, I'm very happy to welcome Mr. Hasani Alchin, Secretary General of the Turkish Contractors Association, who will tell us more about the Turkish construction companies. Hasani.
Your Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, CEO, and board member of the Turkish Exim Bank, the President of TCA, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very much pleased to be here and have the opportunity to address such an audience. I know it's very difficult to be the last speaker because everything has to be said, is already said, and you have to find new things, which is very difficult. And on top of it, we are on the edge of our lunch break. So sorry, I will be very brief on my topic. So what I am going to present to you is that the international activities of the Turkish construction companies in the world. So it's kind of a stock taking and food for thought for future initiatives between the Australian companies and the Turkish construction companies. So the presentations will be in or under four main sections, I would say. The first would be where the Turkish contractors are in the world, what kind of projects they undertake, what they may offer to you, and then I will tell in this picture where the Turkish Contractors Association is. So if I'm, no, okay. In this slide, you will see that Turkish construction companies are almost all around the world. The venture has started in 1972 with Libyan market, and now in the last 50 years, the Turkish construction companies are very active in 129 countries, over 10,000 projects, and a project portfolio of over 440 billion US dollars. Why I'm telling this picture? Why? This has to give you an idea that in which country, whichever the country you are chasing a project, you can consult with a Turkish construction company and you can find a partner there. So I'm losing the screen here. Can you help me on that? So this slide is just to show you the activities by region. I have already shown you that Turkish construction companies has been active in 129 countries. That's been the case. There is also concentration in the regions. So when we have a look at the breakdown of the regions that the Turkish construction companies are active, the CIS or Eurasia region comes number one by 46%, followed by Middle East and Africa, 25% and 17.5% by order. So these three regions sum up to almost 90% of all the activities. So which means that there is a concentration in the periphery of Turkish land. And in this reason, there is an increasing interest to our statistics, an increasing interest in sub-Saharan Africa, and increasing performance in Europe. So I'm going one step deeper from the regions to the countries. So these are all cumulative figures that for the last 50 years. So in this picture, you will say that for the last 50 years, when we look at the countries, Russian Federation is #1 by 20.7%. So this is a traditional market, and this has to be going like that. You will see Russian Federation in #1, followed by Turkmenistan, Libya, Iraq, and you will see all the rest of the countries, which I will also share the presentations with you. So you can just take the picture, or you can save it to the later stage. But in these countries, in some of this, there are some current political turmoils, which is not going as smooth as it was once in a while. But the picture generally gives you a flavor that the top country, almost top 10 country, sums up to 70% of what is being done in the world. So this may also give up to an answer to one of the gentlemen who posed the question about the housing. The housing abroad by the Turkish construction companies are #1 by 13.6%. So followed by roads, bridge and tunnels, and then power plants, commercial centers, airports, and elsewhere. So the housing was the first one where Turkish construction companies started in abroad. And then the percentages have been started to move towards more technology requiring sectors. So that may signal the Austrian companies that with the Austrian technologies, when combined with the Turkish construction abilities and experience in the external markets, we can do a good type of business. Because the technology requiring sectors share are increasing. So let's look at an annual breakdown of what has been done by the Turkish construction companies abroad. So by the year 2005, which you will not see here, I already hide it. 2005 and 6, we jumped over the threshold of $20 billion per year. Then, as you look at this chart, there is a medium of $20 billion per year, but there's always most ups and downs. The traditional markets, as I told you, that the periphery of Turkey, Middle East, Africa, and CIS region is highly energy producer or exporter. So the movements in these markets are highly correlated with the prices of oil or energy. If we look at the peaks, which is 2012 and 2013, the peak over the $30 billion per year is highly correlated with the oil prices of those years, which were higher, between something between the 90 to 110 dollars per barrel. Then there was a turnaround in the world economy in 2015, combined with the lower prices in commodities. And there is an incidence with Russia in 2016. And then again, there was a rise up in the 2017, 2018. Then again, we were hit by the pandemic in 2020. But this year, I think there is a rebound in the market. So the Turkish contractors did very well, or doing very well this year. We already catch up $17.8 billion in the first 9 months of the year. Now let's look at the markets year by year. This is not annual, but this is annual, but not cumulative. So this table also signals us something. As I said in the beginning, you will see that Russian Federation is always there. Likewise, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and Algeria is also in top 10. But as you move forward, you will see that, as I also mentioned, there is an additive countries from Europe, like Romania, like Croatia, like, which one? I see. There were more countries from Europe, like Poland, Slovenia. So there is a tendency or realization of projects in Europe where we can help each other in these markets, or I would say that you can combine your forces, something in Europe in exchange of additional facilities in Africa. So I said that in the beginning, where they are, where the countries are. So I am going deeper and deeper. So this is the activities of the Turkish countries in the CIS region by country. So almost 5,000 projects in 12 countries, and almost half of it, which is $203 billion in the region. Russian Federation, again, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, and Azerbaijan is followed by the others. So these are the regions where Turkish contractors are highly experienced and very well knowledge about the market penetration. Same here again in the Middle East region. In the Middle East region, similarly, 25% of the total is in the Middle East, as I said. And Iraq, followed by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and all on the countries, and already 2,000 project threshold has been jumped over in 14 countries, and with a more than 100 billion US dollars of project portfolio. As I said, of course, there are some political issues with Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates in recent years, which we believe to recover very soon. So here comes our very well explicitly stated target, Africa. Everybody is interested in Africa, and Turkey is very active in the region. So 75.5% of the total, around 1,683 projects, 43 countries, as Zerano was stating, or General CEO of Exim Bank, there were so many embassies in Africa, 43 embassies. And we have already hit 77 billion US dollars of project portfolio. There's also a tremendous interest towards sub-Saharan Africa in exchange of in our previous experiences in the north part of it. So I will show you another breakdown, which is interesting. So I have split the continent into two, the North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa. And the 6 North African countries resembles the 80% of the all projects in contrast to 37 countries of Sub-Sahara. But this was like a couple of months or a couple of years ago, like not more than 2 years though, the percentage was 80 to 20. Now it's already 76 to 24. So there is this leveraging towards Sub-Saharan Africa. We have already managed to penetrate more of them, and more than happy to join our forces with the Austrian counterparts in these regions. So similarly in Europe, Europe is a rising star in the recent couple of years. There is some interest in the continent also. However, there are also challenges started or concluded, I would say, by Green Deal. In a couple of years, doing business would be very difficult in Europe, especially in construction sector, because as you would know that construction sector is said to be the 39 to 40% of the reason of emissions in the world. So there's going to be a highly regulated area very soon. So that is another area where we can combine our forces, the Austrian technology in construction sector, finance, of course, I would not mention that, and expertise of Turkish construction companies in the old continent. So same as the South Asia and Far East. This is, I would say that ignored a little bit. Of course, there's a tougher competition because of China, Korea, and Japan in the region, but still we have 3% of the total in the area. And the number one country is, as you would say, Afghanistan. And Afghanistan, the employer wouldn't be the Afghanistan government, but either the multilateral agencies or NATO. So in this region, this is interesting, surprising that there is a demand for Turkish construction companies from the administrations of the countries. They are explicitly stating their concerns about the Chinese domination of the countries. So they said that they would provide any kind of facilities that we would ask for. And they want us to be there, more active in counterbalancing of the Chinese domination with their words. So again, we should focus on this part of the world, combining our forces to expanding the pie and making more profit or projects, undertaking more projects out of it. As President Erdogan mentioned that we have been approached by Bangladesh, we have been approached by Sri Lankan, Indonesian, and other regional countries, even at ministerial levels. So just to completing the picture, the America is something different that we don't have much project in the part of the world. We have some in Latin America housing projects, but it's still limited. Here I stopped it. These are the slides that I will try to explain to you that where the Turkish contractors were. Now I'm switching that. What kind of projects they have been undertaking in those parts of the world? Starting with this new one. Okay. This is breakdown by sections. $30 billion of airports undertaking by the Turkish contractors. And more interestingly, some of them has been also managed by BOT models. So the airports and BOT modeling is very popular. If not very, it's although not very but popular in many of the examples that we can share some experiences by the finance institutions like the bankers and the other Austrian interested relevant bodies. Similarly, railroads and other infrastructure. We have been done the Warsaw Metro project, like also the projects in various capitals, Doha, Dubai, like the railroads in Ethiopia, Morocco, Tanzania, and this Tanzania was reflected. One of the single project is a multi-billion-dollar project. So there are lots of opportunities in such of infrastructure, bigger projects. Again, one of the other areas where Turkey is very active, the roads. Roads, like in total, like $60 billion worth of project has been undertaken in various parts of the world. And there's also successful experiences of PPP models in Turkey, where we are again approached by various countries to transfer of the experience or know-how at this PPP modeling of the toll roads. So another projects, group type of projects, close to $10 million have been undertaken from Croatia, Europe to Turkmenistan port, Turkmenbashi port in Turkmenistan. A wide variety of projects of seaports, where we can also, if you have the instrument, if you have the engineering under structure to provide or offer, that we can initiate some financing mechanism together. There are some experiences we can do business together. Also another topic, it's already power plant and energy investments. We have undertaken more than $40 billion, petrochemicals close to $20 billion, various parts of the world. Of course, much more of them is in energy rich or energy exporting countries like Russia and the CIS regions. Okay, one of the other topics that has been mentioned a couple of times today is that waterworks. Austrian companies have already been active in Turkish waterworks in the land, where we can also bring our forces together, or we can again divert our interests to third countries. And as you would know that multilateral agencies expressed that they will not be providing finances or giving priority to financing to clean water or sanitary projects in the next years. So waterworks projects would comparatively be finding much easier finances for in the future. So this specific sentence should be noted for future initiatives, I would say. Now we have also some congressium convention centers. More of them is undertaken and successfully completed in the African continent. These were more in fashion in a couple of years before pandemic, but with the finances of these, maybe as you mentioned, maybe delayed for after the pandemic era for some financial reasons. Equally important, we have some stadiums and sports projects have been undertaken in various parts of the world. With or without pandemic, sports would never be ignored. So the sports infrastructure will always be there. So having said that, these are the projects that I can explain to you where the Turkish contractors achieved so far. So the success of the Turkish construction companies have also been endorsed by international magazines or international reference points. No, it's not me. Sorry. Anyhow, this year, the US-based Engineering News Record magazine every year ranks the top 250 international construction companies. And Turkey is always there with, after China, with the companies ranking top 2. This year, because of pandemic, we have landed number 2 to USA, but we will get it back next year, no worries. So 40 of this 250 companies are from Turkey. They are giants. They are very well recognized in many of the worlds. So this number 2 to 3 is just because of the pandemic's outcome of the year 2020. So what the Turkish contractors may offer to you. So they are successful. So what is the catch, or what's the beef for the Australian counterparts? So first of all, they have very rich experience in diverse markets. So if you are interested in going international, the Turkish contractors are the very right partners for you to go. And they have credibility in partnerships. You can check with many of the counter companies, host country governments, that Turkish contracts are very cost-effective production at the international high standards. One of the ministers in his visit to our office, she said that Turkish contractors produce European quality at Chinese prices. This was a very good explanation of what we are doing in the world. So they have also have risk-taking characteristics and have ability to adapt themselves to the difficult situations, which help to the partners of the Turkish contracting companies very much. So this is where I stop, and I come with some suggestions. These are some conclusive facts and future steps that I may propose. Now, Turkish and Australian companies have a very successful history of cooperation. So Mr. Erwin already made some references in the morning. We have successfully completed joint projects in various countries. I say various countries because the characteristics of these 3 countries I gave the example are quite different. Georgia, United Arab Emirates, and Poland. 3 of a kind. So we made it very well in these 3 countries. We can do many more. So concentration in Central Europe and Africa, of course, we can switch the order, are promising. We can concentrate on these 2 regions. So as I mentioned previously, there is also a great potential in the new destinations. Like I mentioned, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Philippines, Kyrgyzstan, Montenegro are all approaching for the projects on infrastructure projects they would like to undertake. We should chase the catch in those countries too. You would know that the infrastructure projects in the world has been deferred for the last couple of years because of pandemic. They are not going to be deferred forever. So starting by the next year, I am sure that there is going to be again a rise in the infrastructure projects to be given to our construction companies, where we can join our forces. And I see a great potential in the various areas of infrastructure, because you have the finance ability and the technology, we have the market penetration experiences, and when we combine our forces, we can do lots of well-scored businesses. So I'm stopping here and just telling that where the Turkish Contractors Association is in this picture. A Turkish Construction Association is a single-stop shop or a single window that you can apply, because this NGO, which has been established in 1952, is the most powerful representative of the sector. We have 120 company members, and this 120 represents the 90, if not more, % of the all project portfolio has been undertaken abroad. So when you contact the Turkish Contractors Association, you can easily reach out to the Turkish project portfolio abroad, or the players, the well players of the Turkey at one single window. So besides, one thing not to forget and deserves mentioning, that Turkish Contractors Association membership is a very powerful reference in any part of the world. You can check it. So I said that if you're interested in doing business one of the Turkish contracting companies, you can easily reach out and find me or my colleagues that you can provide you a helping hand. So I think finally we are on the line side. Thank you very much for your time and listening to me. If you have any questions, I can take it right now.
Thank you very much, Hassan Bey. And yes, thank you for the offer to help also the Austrian companies come together, of course, with your members. Now, I will not talk about the Austrian construction industry. We said we would, we have very many Austrian companies who are active in these sectors and who want to work together with you. So we thought this is the moment when in this diverse sector, the Austrian companies should present themselves in a very short manner, just that you know who is here, what they do, and with whom you can cooperate in which sector and field. May I just ask my Austrian friends that please keep to 3 minutes if possible. Very short, because you are between us and the lunch, and we don't want the people to starve before we are finished. We have so many participants, so we start alphabetically. If you just come up here, your PowerPoints will be on the screen and make a very short presentation, and then the next step we will have lunch. So we start with AME International, please. Mr. Messinger. Are you coming, sir? So, sorry for that.
Good afternoon, Excellency, distinguished guests. I'm sorry I'm not Mr. Messinger. My name is Hermine Grubinger, USA. I'm Director Operation in AME International. And I would like to briefly present to you our company and what are our plans in view of collaboration with Turkish companies. Could you please? Next slide. We are a well-established healthcare company which has been founded 25 years ago. We are a pure export company and we are certified with all the necessary standards and compliance regimes that are necessary to act international. Our scope of services covers from consulting, engineering, medical packages, turnkey solutions, as well as digital health solutions. You may appreciate during the pandemic times, digital health has become a very integral part of all healthcare, and we see a very strong growth. Oops. Just briefly, our achievements expressed in a few figures. Over the years, we have improved the health of around 20 million people and of around 1.8 million patients. A lot of our financing, for a lot of our financing arrangements, OEKB is a very trusted partner. Thank you, Mr. Machad. But also KfW Development Bank is a strong partner for hospital projects and digital health projects in Asia. When you look at our markets, a lot of talk today was about Africa and the growth. And if you look in the south, we have recently been very active in African markets, and their medical technology as an integrated product is not enough. We need construction. The scale is increasing. And this is one of the reasons why we hope to find partners here also to work together in markets in Africa, Asia, and Eastern Europe. We have some references with Turkish companies already, and I'm happy to explore further. My bell is ringing, so thank you very much. And I hope and look forward this afternoon for the meetings. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome all. We are, everybody knows us quite well in this, so I will cut it very short. Just want to give you a short view how the future energy scenarios will be when we are reaching the zero emission by 2050. As ANDRITZ, we are one of the global suppliers of water-to-wire hydropower plants, which is one of the major suppliers to the Turkish grid also. This is more or less all our supplies, including gates, penstocks, transmission lines, large battery storage, the full system. This presentation will be available, so if you want, you can always receive it from ourselves or from our Austrian Trade Commission. Pump storage is the new topic which needs to be implemented all over the world in order to reach the zero emissions. This is an important aspect. Hybrid technologies, Hydrotech, combining hydropower plants with battery storage. This is a new technology which we are offering also in our capacity. Synchronous condensers, which is will become quite important in order to consume the excess energy which is applicable in the grid. So this is also a new technology we are offering to our suppliers who require these technologies. And the hidden heart of equipment is automation, protection. All these issues are within our dispatch center, sports, etc., are also in our sport. Pumps and motors, I'll pass it to my colleague. Take over and finalize the presentation.
Yes, good morning. I represent ANDRITZ hydro pumps business. We are a tier 1 pump manufacturer, and we'd like to pride ourselves on engineering excellence. We are not the largest player in the world, but we are one of the highly engineered manufacturers in the water business. We are very strong and very predominant in the cooling water, wastewater, offshore mining, industry, paper and pulp, and very prominent in engineered pumps. As you can see from, we are very specific in very large flow rates, highly abrasive applications. We are very well renowned for our multi-stage pumps, high pressure desalination, irrigation, and flood controlling. This is our product portfolio from our standard range of pumps, from overhung up to multi-stage high pressure for reverse osmosis desalination. We work amongst the leading EPCs worldwide, very good relationships with Middle East. We are very interested in uncharted markets where we know that EPC contractors like in Turkey are very prominent. So we are very interested in working and collaborating with Turkish EPCs, particularly in the African continent, Eurasian continent, etc. And with regards to highly engineered, we have pumps as turbines. We have concrete loop pumps, which, to give you an idea, can pump something like 10 meters cubed per second, 2 meters high. We have a very successful rate of business in Southeast Asia with these flood controls. And also, we're very prominent in high engineered nuclear business in China. Very popular there. We have a very highly successful rate of sales. Go back to gas and steam turbine generators. I guess that this is more about your show. Gas and steam turbines, generators, we're also very prominent in this field as well. We manufacture these elements. We have one of the leading suppliers in the world of gas and steam turbine generators. Again, we're highly engineered ourselves and are very proud of our engineering excellence. Infrastructures. Not much to say about my hydro infrastructures. You know anything to say about this? From a pumps perspective, I think we're finished now.
These are low-head solutions which we put on the irrigation channels, etc. For when you also produce some energy when you are irrigating, or some low-head solutions. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Merhaba. My name is Georg Karabaczek, and I'm greeting you on behalf of Aquapower Group Austria. We are on international business group, and today I would like to present you two aspects of our possible cooperation. First of all, we produce technology for the treatment tap of water, which we can successfully solve the problem of lime scale over a period of 25 years. On the other hand, we can offer a complete range of rubber products for every industry. We have one of the largest factories for recycling old car tires and produce more than 7,000 different products. In our range, we have products for automotive industry, construction industry, and many others. We are especially proud of the project protecting Guney from floods and many other international projects. A very interesting product are our floor tiles for playgrounds, swimming pool area, park, hotels, etc. We are very much looking forward to the opportunity of cooperation with you in Turkey and international project. Çok teşekkür ederim. İyi günler.
So, hello, my name is Ender Bülbül. I'm living in Germany and working for the Austrian company, Delta Block, and I'm responsible for the Turkish market here. We are working since 5 years very intensively in Turkey and with Turkish companies. Delta Block is a home of road safety, especially. We are a company of the Kirchdorfer Group. Kirchdorfer Group exists since 1888, and it's a company of building materials. Delta Block exists since more than 20 years. We have experiences since more than 20 years and working in more than 45 countries worldwide. We are a fully range provider in concrete barriers, steel guardrails, and noise barriers. The special one is in Delta Block, we are the sole fully range supplier in the industry, only the ones. We tested, all our products are tested according to European norms. We have more tested than 300 crash tests. Our global operating is headquartered in Austria, 7 subsidiaries and 5 offices. We have more than 140 employees. With our partners, we are working with more than 500 employees worldwide. Our distribution channels are especially in licensing, contracting, rental, and trade. Why we are here today? More and more, we are actively in markets where the Turkish constructor is working, especially in Romania, Croatia, Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Asian, African, and Arabic countries in generally. We are therefore interested in creating intersections and synergies with Turkish contractors today here. Thanks a lot. I wish you a nice day and waiting to you on the table 5, Delta Block. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. We are representing Doka company in Turkey. We are established in Turkey since 1999, and our company is located in Gebze, over 17,000 square meter area with a wide distribution and sales network, not only in Turkey and all around. We are belong to Umdaş Group, and our group is in the age of more than 150 years, located in Amstetten, Austria. Most of our products are produced in Austria, but we also do source from the different countries, including Turkey. Also, some of the products are coming from Russia, Portuguese, US, and Far East as well. If you look our global reach, worldwide, we almost cover all continents and all countries except some restricted areas. The area of the responsibility of our headquarters in Turkey is Turkey, Central Asian countries like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Iraq, so on. We do quite a lot project, and those are the projects you see in the screen are our ongoing projects that we are doing together with our Turkish construction company partners. Istanbul Finance Center, where we do at the moment Ziraat Bank headquarters, Vakıf Bank headquarters, Central Bank of Turkey headquarters as well. In Iraq, we are doing Central Bank of Iraq. In Turkey also, we are a supplier, biggest supplier of the Aquapower plant. We are supplier of the Çanakkale Bridge, also the highest tower of the all Central Asia, which is Nest 1 tower. We do have a very big high-rise construction project ongoing, also Port Bakü Phase 2 in Bakü, Azerbaijan. We also do take in the role of the construction of Başarköy Bridge in Trabzon. Some of the already completed projects, which has been the Osman Gazi Bridge, is the one of the biggest one that we completed. Nisibi Bridge, Kömürhan Bridge, İhsaniye Bridge, Eiste Bridge, Lankar Bridge, Ankara, Sivas High Speed Train Way bridges, and the Çayırköy Bridge in Kocaeli. Those are the bridges of the North Marmara Highway, which we supplied almost 80% of all formwork and scaffolding material. We also did and took place in the construction of the city hospitals, more or less, except few ones, we did all. The biggest project was Başakşehir Çamsakura City Hospital project, which was 1.2 million square meter. Elazığ City Hospital, Adana, Bilkent, Antep, and İzmir City Hospital, which is not completed yet, are also our projects. Our office is in your service always. We are located in Gebze, and our email is turkiye@doka.com. My name is Ender Özatay. I'm managing director of the company. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Peter, and the presentation you will see on the website, this will be maybe 10 minutes. Why I'm here today, I developed a new fast technology for
affordable housing, call it C-Modul Austria, to produce modules and supply new machines and components designed by us and made in Europe. I have very good experience with Middle East and North African countries, and more I can explain point by point in the afternoon with my visitors. Thank you for your attention.
Merhaba, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ewald Karl. I am sales director and member of the board of Global Hydro Austria. 2006, my partner in Turkey called me and he said clearly, Ewald, please believe me, we need you and you need Turkey. That's the reason why we are here, and this was the basic of our successful story in Turkey. In the meantime, we realized more than 58 hydropower stations and with more than 120 turbines. This is the successful story behind, and of course we see us with our clients as a partner. Based on it, of course, we have international activities. The company itself, we have 185 employees in Austria, 240 worldwide, and of course more than 95% of export. Especially this Austrian export rate means also that we source in meantime a lot of material via our Turkish company in Ankara for the international business, even from Philippines to Sri Lanka, Chile, wherever in the world. And this is the basis why I'm 100% sure that we have the possibility also to go in the next level of our development of our company, to join up with EPC companies which are acting worldwide in the same way like we want to do it. In general, we have three main hubs. This is Jakarta in Indonesia, in Medellin, Chile, and of course Ankara, which is the oldest one and the biggest one. In the meantime, we have more than 15 employees directly which are taking care of our service activities in the country for the local activities, and of course also to the neighboring countries like Georgia and Azerbaijan. It will be definitely a pleasure if you have the possibility to join today in the afternoon. We have some slots free on our B2B meetings, table number 8, and I thank you very much for your attention. Çok teşekkür ederim.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Zoran, and I'm with Herz Armaturen from Austria. We have been established in 1896, so we're celebrating this year 125 years, and we are still a family-owned company coming from Vienna. We manufacture valves, among others, so valves, boilers, biomass boilers, and insulations. I'll go to the next slide, as I was asked to keep it only for 2 slides, so I just put everything in one. We have today 40 factories. We manufacture, as I said, valves, boilers, biomass boilers up to 20 megawatts, and insulation for buildings, but also machines for the same. On this slide, you will see the White House, not the White House in the US, but the White House in Russia, where we had the first project with a Turkish company in the early 90s. So it was Enka from the construction companies, and we together renovated the White House in Russia. So that's everything from me. If anything, I will be also well. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Joseph Donanvin. I represent the company Linsinger. We are located in Upper Austria. And just if you want to know about, if you want to know more about the high performance rail milling technology, just come in our place there in this afternoon. Then you have the possibility to know more about what we are doing. We are original equipment manufacturer, and we have more than 80 years experience. Today we are more than 500 employees. We have two kind of solutions, stationary and mobile solution. So if you want to, as I already said, to know more about what we are doing, come this afternoon, then we have the possibility to discuss about it. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Machad. I am the CEO of Austria-Turkey. So we are in the railway industry. Austria-Turkey is a family-owned business since 65 years, and we are making or manufacturing machines which are economical, ecological, and also ergonomical, which are complying with the criteria of the bankers told us previously. We are founded in 1953. Our head office is in Vienna, and the main factory is in Linz. We have nearly 2,000 employees in Austria and 3,000 of employees worldwide with 19 partner companies. Export rate is 93%, and our machines are operating in the whole continents except Antarctica, 109 countries. So we have a worldwide customer support. If you are operating or if you are going to make an operation in the railway industry in South Africa or in South America or in Asia, we are there to support you in all means. It's service or spare parts, all kind of support will be very near to you. So we are the only range supplier for all work sequences, starting from tamping to maintenance of the overhead lines. So if you need anything in the rail industry, then we are there to support you in every sector. So we start to care about your machines from research and development till the service afterwards. So we want you to operate the machines without problems, from starting with trainings, with spare parts, and with services in the whole world. So after you buy the money or you purchase the machine from us, then we make the trainings of the operators, then we make the commissioning, afterwards technical service and overhauls and also spare parts in the whole world. So we are also catching up with the technology industry for null in railways with our highly sophisticated technological company in Austria, Truck Maintenance Connected. So we keep up to date the machines. So we have a head office in Ankara. We make production for Turkey and for abroad. We make trainings of machines and we make the commissioning. We have already worked with Yapı Merkezi in Ethiopia, in Tanzania, and Senegal, and we are working still together with them. In Turkey, we have 127 actually. Some of them are more than 40 years old. If you purchase a machine, then the average use in Turkey is 20 years old. So you can use the machines more than 20, 25 years. So we believe in railways and the future of railway will remain sustainable. Thank you.
So as I had some time to speak already, I'll make it very quick. I'll just briefly introduce RBI, who we are and where we are. So I mentioned before, we are an Austrian bank headquartered in Vienna. We see Central and Eastern Europe as our home market. We are present in 13 countries there with subsidiary banks, and we are roughly 45,000 people working in RBI Group. This is a simplification of the already simple chart we saw earlier. Just a few advantages for ECA covered financing. I would like to highlight 3 points here. One is that there is long-term financing available through ECA structures. We can offer efficient and swift execution of projects, especially if you compare it to financing through some other multilateral development banks. For instance, ECA structures usually work much quicker, and multi-sourcing is possible. I think this is also a topic we heard earlier. Of course, you will hopefully purchase from a lot of Austrian suppliers, but we can structure, of course, transactions where there is sourcing from different countries in the structure. Who do we work with? Of course, today is a strong focus on OEKB. It is our strong partner, the Austrian Export Credit Agency, but in RBI, we do work with all major Western European export credit agencies. And in addition, we are also able to work with Sinosure, for instance, or with MIGA, which is the credit guarantee agency of the World Bank. So not quite an ECA, but works very similar to the European ECAs. Last but not least, I would like to show you our country map where we can provide export credit agency covered facilities. And I was very interested to hear about the most important markets for Turkish EPC contractors, because there's a big overlap also where we are present with ECA financing. Russia, for instance, very important in our ECA business. Also Ukraine was mentioned, but then also the CIS countries. Last year, Uzbekistan, for example, was one of the most important markets for ECA covered financing for us. But as I mentioned earlier, we have a global approach here. So where there is strong Austria suppliers in a structure, and we are also able to offer financing, of course, in markets in Asia, also in Africa, Latin America, and so on and so forth. Last but not least, a few of our credentials, and I'll leave it with that. Should just give you an overview about the latest ECA transactions we have closed. So you see here Ukraine, to Ghana transactions, Uzbekistan, and in Russia, of course. And this just as a reference for you. Thank you very much.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vladimir Tsibuzovsky, and I'm a sales manager international in Thales, Austria. And I would like to introduce our company, what we do, and what we're interested in. So the Thales Group consists of 5 business units. It's aerospace, space, defense and security, digital identity and security, and ground transportation. We have more than 80,000 employees worldwide in representations of almost 70 countries. We had a revenue of 17 billion euros last year, out of which 1 billion euro was invested in R&D, which is just self-funded R&D. I actually represent Thales Austria. We are responsible within Thales for some of the key technologies in ground transportation, like ETCS. And also we are a hub within Thales for Central and Eastern Europe, as well as the Western Balkan countries. One of our, let's say, main achievements within the last couple of years, we ensure a safe and reliable transportation of about 8 billion people. We have been able to install our equipment, secure the signaling on the St. Gotthard tunnel, the longest railway tunnel in the world in Switzerland. And we have also implemented the driverless metro system in Dubai at the airport, which is 75 kilometers long. So here you can see a brief overview in where we are active and references we had in the last couple of years. But I would also like to just say a couple of words of what we are actually interested in. A lot of Turkish EPCs are entering markets in Central and Eastern Europe, as well as the Western Balkans. So we would like to get more engaged with those companies and also encourage them to get in touch with us to cooperate for future projects. So thank you very much and have a nice rest of the day.
Good afternoon. This is Sema Gölbaşı. I'm here on behalf of Waag Austria company. Actually, I'm working in Waag Turkey Istanbul office. I am the proposals head. We are a technology provider active in water and wastewater sector. Actually, our trailer, I think, summarized quite well our portfolio. So I will be available in the B2B meetings in the afternoon. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Fatih Asklic from the company Voith Hydro, located in St. Pölten, Austria. We have 4 divisions. One of these is Voith Hydro, where I've been working for more than 14 years. And we have supplied in Turkey more than 116 hydropower plants. Besides that, our other divisions like paper machines, turbo for gearboxes and so on, have supplied also equipment in Turkey. We have around 20,000 employees worldwide. We are still a family-owned company, founded 1867, and we are represented in more than 90 countries. Voith Hydro supplies turnkey solutions for hydropower plants, turbines, generators, electrical equipment, automation, SCADA systems, and so on. Besides that, we have also engineering services, installation, commissioning, and service and maintenance. During the last years, it was also important to support our clients with credits, loans from Austria. We are experienced with OEKB. We have a lot of projects ongoing with OEKB and Turkish clients worldwide. We had during the last 80 years a lot of experiences in Turkey, also in the region. We have supplied equipment to 153 hydropower plants in this region, like Georgia, Armenia, Turkey, Iran, and Russia. And in Turkey, as mentioned, we have supplied 116 hydropower plants during the last 80 years. We have a lot of experience with Turkish companies, civil construction companies. We have started also to work with Turkish civil construction companies in Central Asia, have signed also contracts. And after Central Asia, we want to go also with Turkish companies to Africa to realize projects there. We know that Turkish civil construction companies have a lot of experience in building hydropower plants and dams, and also in operation. Therefore, let's combine the forces, mechanic turbines, generators from Austria, and civil construction from Turkey. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Johann Sischka. I'm representing Waagner-Biro Steel and Glass. I'm with the company since '85. The roots of the company go back, is there no slide for me? Okay. The roots of the company go back to 1854, more than 165 years of experience. I can see it here, but you can, yeah, perfect. We are dealing with non-standard facade and roof solutions, as you can see from some of the references. Yeah, whatever is called a landmark, what is a non-standard application of steel and glass, but not only steel and glass, but also aluminum, membranes, cables, timber, whatever you want to combine, we're the right partner for you. We're working close with architects. We got a very strong design component within our company. But we are not only designers, we are builders. We are delivering, we are not the consultant. We want to get involved with the execution as well, not only the design. And not ignoring the commercial aspects, a cooperation with Turkish partners because of more economic supply is very interesting for us. What are the markets we are in? As you can see here, there is Europe with the British Museum, with the Reichstagsdome, some very prominent projects. but it's also the Middle East, where you see the Etihad Museum. And on the next slide, we have a vast experience in Azerbaijan. When you look at the new airport in Baku, where we worked alongside Turkish main contractors as a specialist contractor for the total building envelope, the facade and the roof. You can also see some prominent projects in the Middle East, which is the Louvre Dome, and also the Yas Marina grid shell, where the Formula One cars drive underneath. We are passionate in what we are doing. We like what we are doing. We like to realize visions. We like to put limits forward in terms of getting developments further in new materials, in combinations of materials which haven't been done before. I was looking at some of the previous presentations. Of course, Azerbaijan is a market we're very interested in, but also we are now, I have forgot to say that, we're now part of the Zeman Group, and Peter will explain the Zeman Group a little bit more in detail later on. Now we have access to also fabrication facilities here in Turkey, also in Poland. With Zeman, we have also access to Turkmenistan, where we looked into some projects now, new city Ashgabat and so on, and I'm sure that Turkish main contractors are very much looking into such projects as well. So we are ready, we want to cooperate, we want to assist. We got experience working with Turkish main contractors, and I have to say I'm looking forward to some fruitful discussions in the afternoon. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Gregory. I'm responsible export manager at Weizsäcker. And I'm happy that Waagner-Biro already broke ground for the idea of beautiful architecture and quality. Ours is about indoors. And no, that's not the right. Just to keep it very short. Maybe we are here the oldest today. We are founded in 1831, so we celebrate 190 years this year. It's still a family-owned company in the 7th generation. In the field of parquet, we are Austria's #1 by far, and one of the 5 biggest in Europe manufacturers. Currently, we employ about 650 employees and have an annual capacity of parquet flooring of around 4 million square meters, plus all the stair covering solutions we produce on top. We export to about 50 countries, and my area includes Turkey, that's why I'm here. So this is more Middle and Far East, Africa, Australia. But I'm sure my other colleagues would like to join a cooperation with your companies as well. Why to go for parquet flooring from us? I know Turkey also has quite a history in this field, and I know the players, of course. But the quality of the product is based on our very long experience. It's almost 200 years now. And very important is that we fully control the chain of custody. So we start, if not in the forest, then at the sawmill, and control all processes of drying, steaming, processing to the packaging. We only use wood from sustainable forest management. I heard green building, LEED and all these things are getting more important. Hopefully also the budgets will be right for that. And so we are only using the wood from sustainable forest management, and we stop to use any exotics. We can cover design-wise a very large variety of products in 2-layer, 3-layer, multi-layer, from the small elements of classical parquet design up to huge planks. And we supply, as I mentioned earlier, also 100% matching stair covering material, as this is made from the actual plank as well. Our parquet is not just for residential use. It is suitable for all indoor use. So we do a lot also for heavy duty and high traffic, be it malls, restaurants, hotels, of course. Hospitality is very interesting for us, and large tower projects, whatever, public places, airports. Our products comply with all technical and ecological norms wherever it was specified. Europe, USA is very often whatever. We will be able to match this and also help you to gain the necessary scores for LEED, for example. We are not the cheapest, but we are very competitive. That is interesting that our second biggest export market is China. So we sell a lot of material into the cave of the lion, if you like. And even we supply to a few of the biggest manufacturers in China, OEM material. Not at the same prices like they manufacture, but not too far away. And about parquet, it's important not to think about day one, but to think about after 5, 10, 20 years, and we will outlast the cheap material. For projects, it's important to know, especially in the aftermath of COVID crisis and rupture of supply chains, that we have excellent access to raw material, and we can cover large-scale projects and will be your reliable long-term partner. Looking forward to talking to a few of them of us soon. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Zehmann, and as far as I understand, I will build the bridge between here and the lunch in a very short time, so don't be scared. It takes less than 3 minutes. We are another one of the little bit older Austrian, still 100% family-owned companies. We are a construction company with a main focus on steel. I can switch here. So, yeah. We have our offices and production, let's say, all over Europe and in Turkey as well, in Istanbul and in Hendek, close to Sakarya, where we own a production facility and employ roughly 200 people here in Turkey. We have a total turnover consolidated of 150 million, 700 employees. And I switch over from who we are to what we do on the next. Okay, it jumps around. Okay, here you see 3 samples of buildings that we performed. No, you don't see. Maybe it will come back later. Here they are again. What we are doing? We are doing general contracting as well as delivery of just steel. We make infrastructure buildings like airports, train stations, bus terminals, industrial buildings, sports and leisure buildings like stadiums or swimming halls and so on. We make commercial and logistic facilities, architectural buildings. In this point, I want to refer to Hans Sischka, who spoke a few minutes before. We are very glad to say that we were able to take over Waagner-Biro Steel and Glass in 2 steps last year and this year, and that makes us much more powerful than we have been before. So we do the engineering, just the supply of material, the whole building, whatever you need, we can supply that. We deliver that all over the world to all 5 continents from our facilities that we have here. I think that's all for so far, because I cannot keep you longer from having your lunch. Yeah, enjoy your meal. Yeah, have a good time. See you later. Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Zehmann. I can see everybody's happy. But thank you to all the Austrian participants, because you were all to the spot and you gave a very good overview. And what it shows again is, our Turkish friends, that the Austrian sector is very diverse We have lots of these small companies, some of them world leaders, family owned, very old, and that's why I wanted you to get to know them today. And I hope you will also have good discussions with them afterwards, the B2B meetings. But before that, I would like to invite you to a lunch just outside where you can relax and eat something. Before coming to the end of this first part, I would also say my big thanks mainly to our partner, Mr. Hasani Alchin is here. And Mr. President, you also stayed with us. Thank you very much. Thank you for this good cooperation. And we hope this is the starting point for many projects and also for a good collaboration in future. Thank you for the panelists. Thank you for bringing us the money, which we need for the projects. But I see that we have to work to get it from you. This is what I understood today. It will be hard work. But that's what you are all here for, I think, for the projects. A big thank you also to the Hilton Hotel for managing us here today. Thank you very much for the technicians also for having this. But my special thanks also, of course, to my team who worked very hard, especially my colleague Nurcan Yerlikaya sitting there, worked very hard. So I hope you enjoyed this morning, and let's have lunch and then let's sit down for work for the B2Bs. Thank you very much. You will receive all the presentations, as I said, don't worry. Yes, thank you very much and enjoy.